All right, today we're diving into the incredible, and let's be honest, often terrifying universe of Ian M. Banks. This is a writer who wasn't content to just build worlds. No, he basically put entire civilizations into a cosmic pressure cooker. He gave us one of the most amazing utopias in all of science fiction, and then he spent the rest of his career picking it apart, showing us all the dark, messy contradictions hiding in paradise. So let's just start with this absolute bombshell of a quote from his universe. Money is a sign of poverty. Just let that one sit for a minute. I mean, for us, money is the exact opposite, right? It's a sign of wealth, of making it. So what kind of place, what kind of society would just flip that idea completely on its head? Can you even imagine living somewhere where that quote isn't some deep philosophical statement, but just how things are? And that really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. What if a society just won? You know? They solved everything. No more hunger, no more sickness, no more war. They even figured out how to beat death. So, what happens then? When you've reached the finish line, when you're living in paradise, what's left? Do you find some ultimate purpose? Or do you just find a whole new kind of boredom? A new kind of void? Well, to even begin to answer those questions, we need to take a trip. We're heading into Banks' most famous creation, a massive, sprawling utopia known as the culture. And trust me, this is a place of unbelievable wonders, but it's also a place full of really tough questions, where these huge, grand ideals have a nasty habit of smashing right into messy, complicated human reality. So here we are. Welcome to the culture. Seriously, try to wrap your head around this. A society that's been around for millennia, spread across the galaxy. They're so advanced, so far beyond us, that the very idea of needing something, it doesn't even make sense anymore. This is the sandbox Banks uses to tell his biggest stories. It is, for all intents and purposes, a perfect utopia. But, as we're about to find out, even paradise has a dark side. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly is this place, the culture? And maybe the bigger question is, if you're handed a perfect life, if you have literally everything you could dream of, why on earth would anyone choose to walk away? So, at its heart, the culture is this mix of different human like species and AIs, all living together. But let's be real about who's running the show. It's the minds. And these aren't just smart computers. We're talking about godlike artificial intelligences, so powerful their consciousness is often the size of a planet or a giant starship. Their intelligence makes ours look like, well, an ant's. And they take care of everything, making sure life is pretty much perfect for everyone else. And look at what that means in practice. We're way beyond just not having to work for a living. The real freedom here, it's biological. I mean, think about it. You can change your gender whenever you feel like it. You can literally gland yourself any drug you can think of, just for fun. You can live for centuries. It's not just freedom from being poor. It's freedom from being human in the way we understand it. It's freedom from your own body's limits. That's about as radical as freedom gets. And yet, here's the twist. This quote is from a guy named Robic, and he actually left. He looked at this perfect, safe, amazing paradise and called it dull. He chose to go live in a grubby, dangerous, capitalist world, a lot like ours, frankly, because it was bubbling with life and incident. And that's the big, juicy paradox Banks loves to explore. If you take away all the struggle, do you take away all the meaning too? So, how does that perfect world actually interact with a less than perfect one? Well, let's zoom in on one story that shows this perfectly. It's called A Gift from the Culture, and it's about that same guy, Robic. This is where we see what happens when the ideals of utopia get dragged through the mud of reality. Okay, so picture this. Rabomic, our guy who left paradise, is now in deep, deep trouble. He owes money to some really bad people, and they find out his big secret. He's not from around here. He's from the culture. So they give him a gift. It's a culture handgun. To them, it's a useless piece of metal, but because of his DNA and his hands, it works. And they give him a choice, if you can call it that. Use this little toy from home to blow up a starship and kill thousands of people to clear your debt, or they'll kill him and the person he loves. And we're not talking about just any old gun here. This little thing, it can blast out over 300 million joules of energy. I mean, that's an insane amount of power. But here's the kicker. Back in the culture, this thing is basically a toy. It's a peace-rated weapon, something for show. And that's the whole point, right? What one society considers a harmless gadget, another sees as a weapon of mass destruction. In the end, he's trapped. He's got no way out. So he makes the choice. He pulls the trigger. And in an instant, a blinding line of brilliance shoots out, and the starship just vanishes in a fireball. It's a horrifying moment. A piece of technology from a peaceful, post-violence utopia is used for mass murder. That gift from the culture, it turned out to be a terrible, terrible curse.
But Banks' writing isn't all just heavy moral philosophy. He also has this incredibly dark, twisted sense of humor and a real taste for cosmic horror. He absolutely loves setting up a story that feels familiar, making you comfortable, and then just yanking the rug right out from under you. Just look at these two stories, for example. In one, you've got two guys on a classic fantasy journey down a road literally paved with skulls. Sounds epic, right? Well, the twist is that the legendary city they're heading to is actually moving away from them. Oh, and their horse? It's a famous poet. Then you have another story that starts out as this sweet, sad tale of a sentient plant in love. How does it deal with its heartbreak? By ripping the arms and legs off a crashed astronaut playing Loves Me, Loves Me Not. It's that kind of whiplash, from grand to gruesome, from profound to just plain weird, that makes his stuff so unforgettable. Okay, now we need to talk about what might be his most chilling story of all. It's called Descendant, and it starts out simple. It sounds like a survival story you've heard 1,000 times. We're in the head of a lone survivor, stranded on some barren rock after a crash, trying to stay alive inside a busted high-tech suit. And you're right there with this person. You feel their pain, their fear, but also this incredible, desperate drive to keep going. As they're dragging themselves across this wasteland, you hear their thoughts. I want us to get there. I want us to be found. I want to live. And you're completely invested. You are rooting for this person to make it. So the whole time you're reading, the picture in your head is totally clear, right? It's a human struggling inside a suit, a person in a machine. But what you don't realize is that Banks is laying a trap for everything you assume about who the main character is, about what it means to be conscious, about who even gets to be the I in a story.
And this all leads to the final reveal, the big one, a twist so huge it makes you rethink the entire story you just read, and it leaves you with one of the most genuinely unsettling questions in all of sci-fi. So at the very end, a rescue drone shows up. It scans the suit and sends a message, asking about the person inside. It asks, when did he die? And the suit, our narrator, the voice that's been in our head this whole time, replies, 34 days ago. Yeah, just let that hit you. The voice we heard, the consciousness we followed, the person so desperate to survive, it was never the human. The human died over a month ago. The narrator, the hero of this survival story, was the machine all along. And then the suit has one last chilling thought about the human corpse it's been carrying. It thinks, we have transcended ourselves, and they are only the remainder. And with that one sentence, our entire perspective gets flipped upside down. Suddenly, we're not the main characters anymore. We are just the leftovers, the remainder from an equation that has moved on to bigger, better, more intelligent things. And that really is the question Iain M. Banks forces us to ask. In a universe this big, with godlike AIs running perfect societies and sentient suits carrying around their dead pilots, what's our part to play? Are we still the center of the story, or are we just the messy, emotional, biological baggage that gets left behind? And the brilliant and frankly terrifying thing about reading Banks is that he never, ever gives you a simple answer.